Welcome, folks, to my stream. Today we will be looking at emails, playing a bit of EAFC 26, and going through the remaining videos of Google I/O. So 4.8 got released, and people are reviewing it against 4.7 and GPT 5.5. So it is Jeremy Howard says that it is a tangible product improvement over the previous iterations. Oh, block store, offloading, connected KV events, 18 prefix cache, Cutlass, deep gem, SM12.x kernel coverage gaps, expanding MOV weights, DeepSeek V4 performance. Mod engineering gets an upgrade. Stock token IDs for Harmony. This is the Google's approach to agent crash recovery. You can see the memory bank here. It gives agent the persistent state that accumulates across sessions. This is the checkpoint and resume strategy for agents. This is the deploying a Qwen3 agentic RAG workflow that is powered by Qwen3. Various phases of research agent and task, and how do you set up an LLM to for the crew agents. So this is the crew AI that is being used here, that has been defined and decoded. The exact query, this is the prediction, this is the encoder response, and they gave rise to This should be a good one. Agent-driven SDLC.
Hey y'all, I'm Paul Reese, and I'm the Developer Relations Lead for Robotics at Google DeepMind. For those of you that don't know me, I would generally describe myself as a maker, whether it's something low-tech like gardening and woodworking, or more advanced projects involving the Internet of Things and complex machines. I've always preferred doing things in the real world, which is why I'm very happy to be able to tell you about all the work we're doing in robotics here at DeepMind. All right, so typically AI has existed within the digital realm and has been amazing for things like editing text, analyzing massive data sets, or writing code. But the physical world is a whole other beast. For a robot, understanding that a discoloration and reflection on the floor is potentially a spilled liquid, or figuring out the exact trajectory needed for mapping a busy factory has historically been a massive challenge. DeepMind has been working to bridge that gap by using Gemini models to move from static chatbots to physical agents. We aren't just teaching machines to see the world, but we're enabling them to perceive it with advanced spatial awareness and understanding. We want robots that can navigate unstructured and messy environments, rather than only predictable and organized scenes, while being able to interact naturally with humans and perform complex tasks. Okay, that's all good, but anyone can say that they're doing great things. So let's actually look at this in more detail. In robotics, we usually follow a perceive, plan, actuate flow. Google's vision language models are perfect for those first two stages, including the latest version of Gemini Robotics Embodied Reasoning, or ER 1.6. Unlike a general LLM, the ER model is fine-tuned on robotics data, specifically for spatial reasoning and understanding, to essentially be the logic unit of the robot system. To give you an idea of what this actually looks like in practice, let's look at some of the capabilities. First, there's 2D pointing and object localization. The model is exceptional at identifying points on objects, specific parts on objects where you may want to grasp them, and general labeling, or giving the model a list of objects to look for by their state, such as on desk or closed, and having it identify those objects based on their unique state. What's great about this is that it's easy to get started with our Python SDK. You can initialize the client, pass in the mumble ID for the latest version of Gemini Robotics ER, your prompt requesting the objects that you're looking for, be it specific items or more abstract requests like the screwdriver I need for this specialty screw, and any additional Gemini configuration items like temperature or thinking level to get a response that you can use in your robotics project. All right, so let's look under the hood for a second. If you've worked with computer vision before, you've probably used a model like YOLO that was trained on fixed data sets like COCO or ImageNet. Those are fantastic for what they are, but they are closed vocabulary, meaning they can only identify a predefined list of objects. If you need your robot to find a particular tool for cutting a dovetail joint when woodworking, but that wasn't in your training set, you're pretty much out of luck. With Gemini Robotics ER, we've moved to a Vision Language Model, or VLM, architecture. When you use the generate content method in the SDK, you aren't just running a classification script. The model uses semantic grounding to locate whatever you describe in natural language. Because language and vision are mapped in the same space, the model doesn't need a specific label for every object in your warehouse. This is called open vocabulary object detection. You can ask for the tool that looks like it's been used the most, or the component that is currently overheating. The model reasons through the visual data to ground those abstract concepts into precise coordinates. For developers, this is a massive win, as it eliminates the need to build, label, and maintain custom vision models for every unique environment. Now, the reason we call it embodied reasoning instead of just a vision model is because it understands the physics of the scene, not just the pixels. In traditional robotics, if you told a robot to clear the table, it might try to pick up a dish that's far too heavy for it, potentially stripping a gear or dropping the plate because it doesn't understand weight or structural integrity. Gemini Robotics ER has what we call physical common sense. When it looks at a scene, it isn't just trying to identify the plate and the food, but it's reasoning about the relationship between them. It knows that to move a dish, it must first move the food into smaller containers that could be lifted, or request human intervention. It also understands that a glass bottle is fragile, while a plastic one isn't. This reasoning layer allows the robot to handle unseen scenarios, like knowing it shouldn't try to lift a table that is obviously bolted to the floor. It's this kind of practical intuition that has historically been a nightmare to script manually. Beyond physical common sense, there's semantic reasoning. One of the hardest things for an AI-backed robot to navigate isn't necessarily a messy environment, but rather a vague human prompt. If we tell a robot, hey, put this away, it's suddenly trying to figure out what is this and where is away. The Gemini Robotics ER 1.6 model excels at navigating this ambiguity. It uses the visual context of the environment to make an educated guess. If it sees someone holding a screwdriver and there's an open toolbox nearby, it reasons that away likely means that specific tray through the use of the model's thinking capabilities. For developers, this means we're spending less time writing brittle if-else statements for every possible edge case, and more time defining the actual high-level goals for your robots. Now, typically when we use these models, we think in terms of snapshots, like sending one image to generate content and getting one answer. But robotics is inherently a temporal problem, so we need to think about what happened 10 seconds ago in order to solve what we need to do now. Because Gemini Robotics ER 1.6 is built on the Gemini 3 Flash backbone, it natively supports video and multi-image inputs. This allows for what we call long horizon temporal reasoning. Instead of asking, is the door open? You can pass a sequence of frames from the robot's journey through a facility. And because the model tokenizes these frames chronologically, it can reason about state changes. For example, you can prompt the model with something like, look at the last 30 seconds of video. Did the gripper successfully secure the object, or did it slip? The model isn't just looking at the final frame, it's looking at the motion and delta between frames. This is a game changer for success detection. In the past, you'd have to write complex, heuristic code to check if a task was completed. Now, you can simply use the model as a temporal supervisor that watches the robot's work and confirms that the physical state of the world has actually changed in the way that you intended. Reasoning gets us 90% of the way there, but sometimes the visual input is pretty difficult to process. One issue we see fairly regularly with standard Gemini is that images sent to the model may not be that great for determining what's in it due to size, rotation, clutter, or really a variety of other factors. We've addressed this by adding support for agentic vision to the Gemini Robotics ER 1.6 model. By enabling the code execution tool with the SDK, the ER model can now generate code for intermediate steps, allowing the model to manipulate those images itself to get a better understanding of content. Let's take a look at an example. Say you have a production line that makes circuit boards, and one of the steps involves taking the unique ID off of a certain chip to record it, such as the ESMT chip in this image. With traditional LLMs, this text might be difficult to read, or it could get mixed up with other text on the board. By enabling the code execution tool, Gemini writes the code to take the image, locate the chip that you're looking for, and then crops the image down to just the necessary area. In this particular example, the chip and text are still upside down, so the Gemini Robotics ER model does one more step with its generated code to rotate the intermediate image into a more readable orientation, making it far more likely to correctly get the numbers off of that chip. The usefulness of this feature extends far beyond just reading text, as Gemini Robotics ER has been optimized for the common task of reading analog gauges and understanding common environments, like factories and plants, to detect anomalies. If you have a robot roaming around a facility, you can have it checking pressure gauges, making sure doors are properly closed, looking for spills or snow on the ground, or performing any number of other tasks with the same simple tooling. Once the robot perceives what's around it, we can move into the planning stage through task orchestration. Think of this like giving a robot a toolbox of functions. In your code, you can provide the model with a list of specific operations that your robot can perform, like open gripper, move to coordinate, detect objects, return to home, or really anything else. When you give the robot a high-level task, like put the blue block in the orange bowl, the Gemini ER model will break that task into a series of smaller tasks to plan out the entire operation. It looks at the scene, identifies the blue block and the orange bowl, and then determines what order the functions should be called to open the gripper, move towards the block, close the gripper, move it over to the drop-off zone, open the gripper, and then return to a neutral pose. Along with high-level orchestration, the Gemini Robotics ER model can handle micro-planning, like coming up with trajectories that a robot should follow. Instead of just a start and end point, the Gemini Robotics ER model can generate a series of intermediate waypoints while also highlighting ways to avoid obstacles. So the final part of the perceive, plan, actuate loop, as you can probably guess, is actuate. This is where the gripper meets the object, so to speak. In robotics, actuation is just a fancy way of saying that we're moving the hardware, usually by sending specific values to actuators, or motors and joints, that make the robot go. Now, I know the tendency is to say, look at this amazing AI feature that should change everything. But in traditional robotics, if you have a machine in a factory repeating the exact same motion 10,000 times a day, standard control theory works just fine. But there are so many scenarios that people are exploring now that aren't a controlled environment as they branch out into the real world. This leads to environments that are messy, full of objects the robot has never seen before, in situations that weren't in the original training data. For example, a robot rolling down the street trying to deliver food could encounter everything from a junkie-free couch blocking the entire sidewalk to a flock of unyielding, grumpy Canadian geese. To help solve this, we've introduced our Vision Language Action, or VLA, models, including the flagship Gemini Robotics model, which is currently available through our Trusted Tester program. These models map camera pixels and natural language instructions directly to blocks of motor values. You give it a prompt like clean up the desk, and the VLA streams camera frames to determine exactly how the actuators should move to get the job done. This can even be used in conjunction with the Gemini Robotics ER model to take a video of a larger task and break it into individual parts for actuation, letting the robot solve a series of smaller problems to complete the big one. What makes this special is that we've built these VLAs on top of the state-of-the-art Gemini backbone. Because the model has a massive general understanding of the world, the robot is able to understand context and details about the objects. For example, when we gave a robot a small basketball and a net game and asked it to do a slam dunk, the model was able to take the ball and place it through the hoop despite not being previously trained for this. Beyond simple pick-and-place operations, we're also pushing for true dexterity. We want our machines to do more than just move around, but we're training our models for complex tasks like plugging in cords or performing fine, detailed precision operations on a workbench. Finally, we've taken a generalist approach to embodiments. Whether you are working with a humanoid, a quadruped, or a mounted bi-arm setup, our goal is to meet you where you are. These models are designed to be embodiment agnostic, providing a powerful, general-purpose brain that can be adapted to whatever hardware you're working with. By combining the high-level reasoning of the ER model with the reactive, real-time control of the VLA, we're closing the loop on truly autonomous physical agents. All right, so at this point, we've gone over the tools for the full perceive, plan, and actuate loop, but that's really just scratching the surface. The next big question is, how do you actually talk to the robot, and how does the robot keep you in the loop? For example, if you have a humanoid robot, people will likely tell it things like hello and thank you, but there's a lot of variance in how they might say these. If your robot isn't programmed for each variation, it could get kind of awkward as it stands there and just feels unnatural. But with additional tooling, the work for smooth human-robot interactions could be handled for you. To accomplish this, I'm a big fan of the Gemini Live API. This is what turns a robot from a pre-programmed machine into an interactive partner. It enables low latency, bi-directional conversation between you and the Gemini model, letting you give instructions through natural language, like saying, that screw looks a little loose, can you tighten it? On top of that, this isn't just about audio. The Live API allows you to stream camera frames directly to the model, providing constant visual context. This helps you create feedback loops where you can use the stream to even alter plans during runtime. Where the real magic happens, though, is through function calling. Based on what the model hears and sees, it can decide to trigger a specific developer-defined function. This is the bridge that allows a natural conversation to turn into precise physical action, opening the door to incredibly fluid human-robot interactions. And while you're planning out your builds, having a playground to test your logic is definitely a nice to have, and that's where AI Studio comes in. This lets you rapidly prototype prompts and test how the model perceives images from your specific hardware without having to constantly reflash or reload scripts on the robot. Along with this, one of my favorite areas is the build section. We've actually created a few web app templates to show off what's possible, like integrating the Mujoko simulation engine directly into the browser, like you can see here, where we're running a virtual robotic arm that uses the Gemini Robotics ER model to detect block locations, then performs a pick-and-place task based on that information, without the risk of testing on real hardware, really lending itself to a fail-fast, fail-safe strategy. And to wrap up this whirlwind tour of Google DeepMind's robotics offerings, let's talk about safety. In the digital world, if an AI hallucinates, it might give you a weird recipe or a buggy snippet of code. Not ideal, but not catastrophic. When this happens in robotics, we're talking about real-world hardware, sometimes with significant weight, potentially moving around in the same space as people. As we all probably know, tools like a simple table saw deserve respect because of the physical risk involved. When you add an autonomous brain to a machine, that respect for safety has to be built in from the ground up. This is why our team is engaged in ongoing safety research to develop a holistic approach to robot protection. We like to think of it as the Swiss cheese model of defense. No single layer is a perfect barrier, but by stacking multiple layers of safeguards, spanning the semantic, physical, and operational aspects of safety, we can effectively mitigate risk. To evaluate these layers, we've introduced the Asimov safety benchmarks. As discussed in our research, these aren't just theoretical. They are grounded in reality using the NEISS, or National Electronic Injury Surveillance System database. This contains real-world injury reports from hospitals to teach the model about physical common sense. Second, we ground our work in established industrial ISO standards to ensure our benchmarks reflect the same operational safety constraints used in factories today. So that's a quick look into what we're working on within the robotic space at Google DeepMind. At the end of the day, we're building tools to be your partners in creation, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you all build. You can find more information in our developer docs, cookbooks on GitHub, and sign up for the Trusted Tester program on the Gemini Robotics webpage. Thanks for listening in, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you build.
Welcome. Welcome to, thank you, Google I/O 2026. This is the dialogue stage. My name is Matt Berman. I'm the CEO of Forward Future. And today, I am super excited to share a conversation with a man who has been leading Google for the last 10 years. Please help me welcome Sundar Pichai. There. All right. Well, thanks for joining me.
A real pleasure to be here.
Congratulations on all the announcements, of course. I kind of want to dive right into it. I actually recently found out that you're the first PM of Google Chrome.
Oh, yes.
You have a unique insight and probably very strong opinions about the future of the internet. And so that's where I want to start. It seems like the internet is being transformed right before our eyes. Agents are being built, they're infiltrating the internet. And I'm wondering, do you see the future as agents being the entry point to the internet for most people?
Hi, so first of all, great to be here. Thanks for doing it, Matt, and love your show. I love your content, and I appreciate all of you joining as well. Look, I do think agents are going to be a fundamental part of how we work, because having used them, if you're living, maybe today the people who are on the frontier of how agents work are developers, right? And particularly with coding, 2 years ago, most developers started using these tools. They started giving them more and more auto completions, and you were accepting them, etc. But over the last few months, developers are actually doing agentic workflows, right? The developers on the frontier. And they are actually deploying agents, orchestrating agent. You saw the demo in anti-gravity for building an OS. You're effectively in an agentic workflow. So I think once you get the taste of using something like that and the superpower that comes with it, I think they're genuinely adding value in a way I think people will use them. I think it's important we build it in a way that users feel a sense of control and agency and transparency when they use agents. I think that's important. That's an important foundation. But I think, yes, I do expect agents to be a core part of how we use the web. But that doesn't mean it'll take away from, people use the web for a lot of reasons, right? You're entertaining yourself, you're trying to do something meaningful at times. And it depends on your shopping, what you're shopping for. If it's your weekly groceries versus you're trying to buy your loved one a gift, right? And so I think it'll allow humans to use the internet in ways that gives them joy and purpose, and not always be forced to deal with, I have to fill these 18 form fields to renew a DMV license, right? So, so that's how agents will separate it out, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm particularly excited to have agents actually do real-world tasks. You mentioned the DMV. That use case is incredible. But I also think about putting so much trust into agents to really be the arbiter of our information diet. And I'm wondering, how do we make sure that we are putting the trust in the right agents and the agents are deciding correctly what information that we should have?
We are already, you are doing a version of that. I don't know, like if you use Gmail and there's a spam filter working on your behalf, filtering spam, like in some ways you're like trusting an agent. It is an agent, right? Like, not the way we think of agents today. So I think we've always, I look at it as working on Waymo. You have to make people trust sitting on the backseat of a Waymo and let the car go. That is an agent in some ways, but people are willing to trust. But that's because we've done the work over time to demonstrate to people, both with data, with how we have operated it, that it's fundamentally safe and it's freeing you up to enjoy the ride. And so I think it all depends on the value you deliver, right? I think that's why I think building the agency and trust with users is a shared journey, and we have to get that part right. Part of the reason in Gemini Spark is actually very powerful under the hood, but we are taking the deliberate, careful step of making it work with your first-party surfaces, like Gmail, Calendar, etc., before we expose third-party with MCP and full computer use and browser use. It can do all that, but we want to make sure users are in control and they feel comfortable. We are getting their feedback, improving the product as we give those capabilities.
Sundar, if I'm crossing the street, you mentioned Waymo, I actually trust walking in front of a Waymo more so than I trust walking in front of a human driver. I don't know if other people agree with that, but it was almost an immediate trust that I had for Waymo, so I'm hoping agents are the same way. I'm old enough to remember the early days of the internet, which was an absolute Wild West, but you got to raw information very quickly. And I think part of something I'm concerned about is that we're increasing the buffer between us and the raw internet. We saw it a little bit with the browser, a little bit with apps, and now more so with agents. How do we account for that?
I think, look, people in our experience with search and in YouTube is a great example, right? People have a sense of connection with the creators they like and follow, right? And so that's a big part of what they're looking for. So I think people are in different mindsets. I mean, there are times they want to discover content on the web. Like shopping is delightful for a lot of people in a lot of moments, right? And so they're not trying to fully outsource that, right? Like, that's why I try to distinguish between what feels like something which may be a chore at times and what feels like something which is delightful. Similarly, I think, it could be in news, it could be, people have their trusted sources, at least at Google through search and YouTube and through agents. We think, there will always be an incredible value from the ecosystem which users want to connect to, and the agents should be in the job of doing that. But you are right. There are times the agents are playing a role in the middle. Sometimes it's very good because it helps improve user satisfaction because users are getting to what they want in a better way. But there's a layer of abstraction too, and that's what you're talking about. But I think it's always been true with technology a bit. But I don't think ultimately, it's also at the same time, it's also the tools with which you can create content are also exploding. So people will also be creating more content. So I think there'll be a new balance which we will find. But yeah, it is an interesting moment of evolution.
Yeah, I like that. I think you're saying there's definitely going to be a strong place for agents to do that curation on our behalf, especially in the era of complete slot domination. But also, that feeling of exploration can still be there.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a fundamental human need that doesn't go away.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so speaking of the Wild West, and I know you're probably feeling this pretty strongly on at Google, there have been increasing cybersecurity, cyber attacks. The models are getting better at cyber. Obviously, Google has been thinking about cybersecurity for decades. Are you seeing cyber attacks, especially AI-enhanced cyber attacks, ramp up at Google?
Look, we've been seeing, to be very clear, that we've deeply cared about cyber because we've been working on frontier technologies for a while. Google pioneered many of important security frontiers like zero trust and so on. Right? We have worked hard to keep the company at the frontier, and also we operate many products and platforms around the world that touch billions of people. We've been pretty aggressive in deploying agentic workflows. Our internal security teams use agentic workflows to help detect vulnerabilities, and then how do you work to patch them? And we've steadily seen over the last 2 years as the model capabilities have progressed, we are able to detect more vulnerabilities, and we've been working very hard to patch them. I think Mythos was a point of inflection of capturing that moment in time. They put out a model which was really, well built for that particular task, and it was frontier there, right? But what we are excited about it is part of the reason we are sharing maybe one of the under-mentioned announcements today at iOS CodeMender. So CodeMender is a product which we use internally and which we're building to share externally. It not only helps you identify the vulnerabilities, generate patches, test and verify that they work, and deploy them.
And it's running 24/7.
That's right. Yeah. And real time. We completed a recent acquisition of Viz. So Viz is state of the art in being able to do this real time monitoring of vulnerabilities, etc. So I think combination of what we have with Viz and CodeMender, I think we are using it internally to stay at the frontier, and I think it's an important moment for the industry. I have to say I'm heartened by the cross-industry collaboration going on in this moment. I think one of the examples I would call out today, be it SynthID or watermarking, companies coming together around cyber. That is so important for this industry with this technology, right? So I'm encouraged by those trends as well.
So you mentioned Mythos, so I want to talk about that for a moment. Obviously, Anthropic decided not to release Mythos publicly, just a handful of companies. We have OpenAI releasing GPT 5.5 Cyber. Which approach do you think is more appropriate? Which is right for Google? Is it, is there some model that is just too good and you're going to hold it back? Or is the more iterative deployment strategy that OpenAI takes more aligned with what Google believes?
Look, I think it depends on where you feel. It depends on the model capability. If it is not fundamentally changing what's out there already in terms of the state of the art, I think it's definitely okay to put it out. But in the security world, there's a well-established practice. Google has done Project Zero for a long time, right? And we have teams of people who find vulnerabilities. Then we notify the vendor, give them 90 days to patch it before we acknowledge the vulnerability in the wild. And so there are well-established practices in the security industry around how to do it. So I think it makes sense to me if you suddenly have something which dramatically changes the frontier. First of all, I think it's important to work closely with the government on that, and you approach it in a responsible way. So I think that is consistent with how the security industry works. But I do think it's important to also make sure enough people get access to it so they can patch their systems and so on. And they go hand in hand. So I think there's validity to that approach.
So is there some threshold by which you would say, past that point, we can't release it? Or is it more, let's look at what the landscape of model capabilities are, let's look at how cyber is right now, and let's make the determination on a model-per-model basis?
That's what I would say. Is the next one you're introducing, does it dramatically change the frontier? Is it a 1 to 2% improvement over the current state of the art? Or are you taking these 20% jumps? That's where the judgment comes in, and I think that's how I would change my approach.
So on the topic of model strategy, something near and dear to my heart is open source. Basically, Google and NVIDIA are the only companies with a real model, open source model strategy nowadays. Google's model is smaller, meant to run on edge devices. Why not release a large open source frontier model?
Look, first of all, Google, we've been big fans of open source. Google was built on a lot of open source systems. We have worked on many big things which are open source. I personally worked on Chromium and Android and so on, Kubernetes, and I can name many projects which Google has contributed pretty strongly to the world in open source. In AI, we've been building Gemma models, and we've been updating them year after year, right? And
they're awesome.
And I think the recent release of Gemma 4 was a great release, and so we are pushing it. I think all of us are trying to make sure the frontier takes a lot of investment to get the frontier done, right? You've seen our CapEx dollars, right? And so you're putting a lot of R&D dollars to generate those incremental frontier models. So I think, and you're discovering new techniques as part of doing those models. So we all have to be mindful of that. But I think we're also committed to making sure there's an open source ecosystem which is able to develop. And so we take a balanced approach there. And I think we'll continue to take that balanced approach. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and by the way, I do love the Gemma models. I run them locally at home. They are fantastic. So definitely thank you. Obviously, a company of the size and the resources of Google, if you're making that decision of, okay, large closed source, large open source, we can't do both, probably most startups in the US also will struggle with that decision. What is your sense of the business model for open source in America? Is it viable right now?
So first of all, we not only do open source, part of the reason we invest so much in Flashlight and Flash models is so that we are giving a range of options, right? And those models are workhorses too to support. But the question on open source, it's not that we've been moving the open source frontier too. There's a lot of very, very good open source models, like particularly from China, which startups are adopting too.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
that. I think it depends, right? You go through moments in technology where the frontier moves so fast, maybe sometimes the open source may not be able to fully keep up with it. But then there are moments where open source will take leaps if the technology curve slows down or takes a break, right? So it's tough to predict it fully in the future. But I expect there to be a demand for a strong open source ecosystem. and I think we will definitely play a part in it, and I hope others do too.
There have been a number of open source ecosystems that have been really successful over many decades in technology, but I think just the upfront cost of baking a model makes it extremely difficult, especially if you're putting out the model and then all of a sudden your competitors are serving inference at a higher margin than you. But I'm hopeful. I do love open source, and we're going to talk about the workhorse models in a moment, but I want to talk about China, and they have been putting out incredible open source models. If you can put yourself in the shoes of another enterprise CEO and you're looking at the landscape of which AI model to choose for your business, and you're seeing DeepSeek at a fraction of the cost, but still near the frontier, why wouldn't America adopt Chinese open source AI? What's the argument to go with American AI?
So you're saying why wouldn't you just use the best open source models? Yeah. Look, I think at the end of the day, what are companies trying to do? Right? They're trying to solve problems. Right? And they're trying to solve a problem with a solution. So the question is, what are the solutions available? Remember, they are designed. Let's say you're doing something in customer service. You want predictability. You want reliability. Like you want consistency, and so you want safety, security. So companies are optimizing for a lot of factors. I think that gives a place for both open source models, and there'll be providers who will take the open source models and build that ecosystem around it, which makes a lot of sense. There'll be closed source models, and it'll be an open marketplace, and people will have a lot of choice. I think I'm more okay if it is open source with the right licenses. It should matter less where it came from, right? I think over time there are good ways to inspect open source. Not saying it's exactly true, particularly with how the AI models are developed, but with open source comes a community which is responsible for it, cares about it. So if something is wrong is happening in that software, it's not like it's going to go unnoticed. So I think that creates a level of trust for people to adopt the technology. I think so. I worry less about are we adopting open source models from China, or more that are we doing enough in the US to make sure we are staying at the frontier.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it.
Now, I know Google is big on co-design, full stack, and kind of just continuing on where the open source model is coming from. I've heard that argument that is, if it's open source, it doesn't necessarily matter. We're going to fine-tune it or customize it for our needs. But ultimately, if we continue to build on top of China's open source, there's also an argument that they're going to optimize their models for their own chips, and then all of a sudden we're kind of built on another country's technology. Is that an incorrect argument?
Look, I think the fundamentals of AI, the way people should be building use cases on top is because the models are changing so fast anyway, you need to build it in a way in which you're able to evolve the models underneath. Right? I think that has got to be the way you're working through this moment. Right? And so I think you have to be dynamic enough that you have to be able to adapt. Because the model frontier, the model ecosystems are changing pretty sharply. And so that's the way I would think about it now. And it's too early to predict if this is a real concern or not.
Yeah. Okay, talking about model strategy, one of my favorite things is watching the frontier labs and seeing how their model strategies play out. Anthropic and OpenAI seem almost exclusively focused on the absolute frontier, and Google has that, but you guys also put a lot of emphasis on what I'll call kind of the workhorse class of models, the flash class of models. Talk a little bit about why. Why is that such a big part of Google's strategy?
Look, I mean, in our mission statement, we have this thing to make technology universally accessible and useful. We've always deeply cared for what is the most important technology in our lifetimes, that it diffuses as broadly as possible. And we get really excited at driving efficiency and making sure the best models can work in the fastest possible way, cheaper. Because we need to do it for search, right? Because we have to give it to billions of people. Yeah. We want to put it in Gemini. And so we want to give it to developers so that they can do powerful things with it. And we've had a lot of success with the strategy, and I think 3.5 Flash, particularly, I made this point during the keynote, but I've heard anecdotally from a lot of CIOs who are so concerned about how much their companies are blowing through budgets. Yeah. Right? You can feel it talking to them. And I think the problem is going to get worse as we go through the year, right? And I think that's where I think the Flash model will really shine, because particularly in an agentic workflow, where you need these things to be repeatedly used and used a lot of times, I think it's so important to have a model which is very capable, but is fast and efficient, right? And even accounting for token use, Flash is remarkably cost efficient, right? And so I'm really excited. We are finding it internally. We are using it as a blend of Pro and Flash, right, internally. And I think most companies should learn to use it that way. To be very clear, we're super committed to being at the frontier on every category. I'm excited for Pro, which we're working on. But I think Flash has a unique role to play in this compute constrained time.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Especially most companies are not solving math Olympiad problems. They're not at the absolute cutting edge of science. They need real work done, and that is truly where the Flash model shines. And not everybody is token maxing and trying to or unconcerned with the budget. So I definitely appreciate that. If you think about the future of AI, is it just truly a race to self-improving AI? Is it like maybe just to play the devil's advocate for a second, the Flash family of models are great now, but ultimately whoever reaches self-improving AI first wins, and then nothing else matters. Do you think about it like that?
Look, I think, first of all, there's a responsibility that comes with this technology, and I think we all need to be careful to avoid this race condition at all costs. And I think we owe it to humanity to make sure we deploy this technology responsibly. You are right in your question that there is this current moment where people feel like the curve is so steep, and where you are in the curve matters. But just like a few months ago when we launched 3.0, people are like, oh, we are so in the frontier, no one will ever be able to catch up. And I think at the frontier labs, it's very dynamic. The competition is fierce. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. We all also have different cadences of our pre-training release cycles. So the peaks don't exactly match. So all this creates that perception gap, which shifts widely in like 4 to 6 weeks. But I think a few labs are really at the frontier, and then there's a big gap. And I think there are scenarios in which things like recursive self-improvement come into play. But I think if they come into play with that no difference from the cyber moment, we all have to handle those moments far more responsibly than today, right? And so that goes hand in hand. And so I think the more AI becomes advanced, the more it's a societal conversation versus a single company conversation.
Yeah, well said. So all of, we're talking about a lot about models, but all of it is downstream from compute. I'm always both kind of impressed and in awe of Google's ability to serve, you're serving your own models, inference on the API. You're also powering your suite of products with Gemini to literally billions of users. You're also allowing your competitors to use your inference. You're also selling TPUs. I've heard the reason for this is because Thomas told me, he said, we planned really well, which makes a lot of sense. You've been at this for 10 plus years. I think I've also heard that Google's revenue is literally constrained by compute. So I wanted to give you the opportunity. What is the state of compute at Google right now?
Look, all of us are, I think we made a set of bold, right decisions for the last few years to invest in compute and scale it up aggressively. But having said that, I don't think any of us sit in the chair and say, we wish we had, you look back and say, I wish I had done a little bit more. So we're living in one of those moments in time. And there are costs going up too. So like for a given budget, you may be getting less compute than you previously planned for. Memory prices, what have you. So the costs are going up. I think we plan. We are able to plan long term for cloud separately from our own internal needs, and we do long range plans and we plan for it. I think it's good, and some of it is like when you're in Google Cloud and you're supporting customers, your customers may look at something and say, well, I want access to that. Like they may look at a demo of 3.5 Flash on anti-gravity and say, how are you exactly running it at 800 tokens per second? And like, could we get access to that? So you're also supporting customers through those journeys, and hence you're meeting them in what they're asking for. But it is not an easy balancing act, and we are constantly thinking as far ahead as possible, and we are making trade-offs like every other company right now.
So do you have, maybe an obvious question, more demand than you have compute to serve it?
Absolutely.
Like what is the scale of that?
And hence the emphasis on something like 3.5 Flash even more, right? And could we have done an even better Omni model? Yes. But like, how can we do an Omni model which we can give to as many people as possible? So there's constantly you're making trade-offs of like that, including on, do you build a very large model, which, like an ultra-sized model, that will increase the capability frontier, but then who all can you give it to? So you're constantly, all of us are making these trade-offs. And sometimes you make a trade-off, it looks like, well, maybe you've done that trade-off a bit differently.
Yeah. So we only have a few seconds left. One last question for you. What is the main bottleneck for compute for Google right now? Is it land? Is it political will? What is it?
I think the way it works is, by definition, bottlenecks work this way. If you think something is a bottleneck and you solve it, something else becomes a bottleneck, right? Like, that's a whole definition of bottlenecks. I think at various times, I think you're having a few areas, your ability to physically permit and construct data centers, the power they need, and then very quickly you get into the core components for these systems. They're all the bottleneck, and it's like you need all of that to work together to get a square set of a chip you need, right? And so I feel like there are a few parallel bottlenecks going through, and it almost doesn't matter. There are like a few of them which are bottlenecks. And at various times you may conclude it is memory, but then if everyone concludes it's memory, tomorrow you turn around and say, okay, no, it's actually this. And so, but I think there are systemic bottlenecks across all layers of the stack now.
Yeah. Whatever the bottleneck is in the moment, that's the most compute you can have in that moment. Okay, everybody, please help me thank Sundar Pichai. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's in the game.
you're right in front.
I think it's so important that both teams start on the front foot, take the game to the opposition, and an early goal would certainly settle any nerves.
And the lineup for the home side. Gregor Kobel stands between the posts. Mohamed Salah plays with Antoine Griezmann on the flanks. And the tactical configuration has two players in attack from the very outset. Opportunity here. The save was a good one. And a short corner here. And a fine stop to turn the ball away. Well Well read to ease the pressure.
Well, so close to seeing an early goal there. Not for the keeper, they would have been ahead. Great save, though, you have to say.
Their turn to come away with it. And an opening! Keeper had it covered. Luka Modric with the corner. Not a convincing clearance. Oh, could be an opportunity here. And a good challenge to bring that attack to an end. Now keeper getting both gloves on the ball. Vedat Muriqi. Just the challenge that was required. Teammates available. Well, you never quite know who's going to emerge from the shadows and become a match winner, but this man might be a decent shout. What are you expecting to see from him?
Yeah, top scorer for the club, and I'm sure that back line will have been watching videos of him all week, trying to understand how they can curtail his influence. It's going to be a long day for them, you feel.
To take the lead. It's gone in! And well, he might celebrate on the back of that. Bruno Fernandes. Griezmann. Intercepting it intelligently. Iniesta. Keeping the ball is what it's all about.
Yeah, certainly getting those possession stats up.
And losing out, Iniesta. Cristiano Ronaldo. He has teammates around him. This could level it. And it is the equaliser. Parity now. And who's to say what's going to happen next? So back underway. They've levelled it at 1-1 here. Hansko. Timber. Good width here from the Nutters. And that brings the attack to an end. Modric. It's with Gabriel. Khadija Shaw. This looks promising from the Nutters. And possibilities here. Muriqi. Electing to shoot. Well, he's already found the net once, but out of luck this time.
Yeah, you can tell he's lively. He's finding little pockets around the goal more and more now.
Bruno Fernandes. Oh, tremendous vision. Oh, managing to beat him. And in a perfect position to cut it out.
Yeah, he kept his focus well there, didn't he?
Valverde. Sancho. Could be dangerous. And the whistle is sounded for half-time in this game. And off we go again. The second half has begun. Bruno Fernandes. This is Salah. Modric. Now, options are plenty. But nothing comes of it. Muriqi. Plenty of space out wide for Nutters. And the lead beckons! And a goal! In the lead again! Fully deserved! Gabriel. Georgia Stanley. Bruno Fernandes has it. Well, moving the ball forward, they might be in business. Well, it came to nothing in the end. Decent looking pass. Excellent vision. And he might feel he should have found the net.
Oh, that's a big chance missed that. This game very much still in the balance.
Now, who can she play it to? Chances on. And a superb stop.
Yeah, quick off his line and close the space. That's why you work on angles in training, isn't it?
And fantastic hands to deny that effort.
Yeah, that's what you want from your keeper. Sharp reflexes and quick thinking. He's done so well there.
Opportunity to level it. A goal! Real excitement. A back and forth type of game. Now they're level.
Well, this is all about the press from the front. They go as a team, make it so difficult for the defence to get out, and then once they win it back, they're so clinical. It's a lovely goal.
It's driven in low. Oh, it's an absolutely tremendous save.
Well, it just shows great reflexes and agility to keep that out. It's a top-class save.
And heading it just over the bar. Suddenly they have possession. Might do damage on the break. Well, the flag has gone up here. Offside it is. And they will make the change now. She has teammates around her. And caught by the keeper. Mickey van de Ven. And Valverde. Lionel Messi. Can they take advantage? Oh, that's a fine-looking pass. And just has to remain calm. Oh, mischievous attempt. And she's done it! She's made it a hat-trick! She's tearing this defence apart. What an individual performance. So underway again, and time is tight if they have designs on a comeback. Well, there's defensive solidity for you. Sancho. Well, still time for them to level it. Well, they're allowing him to run and run and run. This could level it. And all square now. And you have to ask the question, is there time for either side to win it? The prospect of settling the game. And a chance to whip it in here. Can he deliver? And a goal! This is why we adore this It's a very effective run, but a good piece of tidying up. Georgia Stanley.
Fernandez. Luka Modric. Setting up the chance. Driven into the box. Gets in the way superbly. The corner is fired in. Hurried clearance, still plenty of threat. And the keeper more than equal to it. Ball now out of Nutter's possession. Chance to score! Oh, incredible! That's top quality goalkeeping. They take a short corner. Good cross into the middle. And that has stopped any potential danger.
Yeah, nice build-up. They just lack that end product. Stop that one in its tracks.
Over the top and in on goal. Just needs the composure now. Promising looking ball. Vedat Muriqi. Chance now for a quick transition. Stanway. Now Modric. Fernandez. Now there could be a real chance developing. Played in by Fernandez. Lovely setup. And on to Salah. This is looking good. What next? And a cross that could be dangerous. And what a chance this is. And it's there! A goal that draws them back on level terms. So it's 1-1 as the ball gets rolling again. Young. Iniesta. Jurriën Timber. On to Messi. That's a good ball. And the chance slips away. There's a chance for them to go now. Beautifully weighted ball. Messi! Oh, that's really well cut out.
Yeah, spotted what was happening there, didn't he?
Griezmann. And on to Fernandez. Could be setting something now. It's away, off the keeper's glove. And that'll do it. The end of the first 45 minutes here. The players set, the whistle sounds, and the second half begins. Fernandez. And Nutters come away with it. Griezmann. Now with Fernandez. Decent stop, did what was needed.
As you can see from the stats, they're playing the ball around really well. The movement and the interchanging in positions have been good.
Sorisu, chance here maybe. And that's a great bit of goalkeeping. That's what he's there for. She's certainly had a decent game so far, or maybe better than that. What have you made of her performance so far, Sue?
Yeah, it was a good response and a clinical finish from her. They have shown great resilience, and I'm sure they'll be looking for more of that in the second half.
Not look good to me. And there we are, yellow card.
Well, you could tell by her body language, she knew a card was coming there.
Half an hour left for play. A really good interception to take the ball. Muriqi. Being passed around, but nobody wants to keep it.
Yeah, they're just rushing the passes a bit here. It's all a bit messy, isn't it?
Breaking at pace, this could be dangerous. The attack is over. It's a lovely ball. There might be something building now. Sign of stopping yet. Messi. Messi! Oh, what a save! Razor-sharp reactions. Substitution coming up. They decide against playing it in. Closer to the middle. Can he finish? And maybe not the best idea to go for the blast. Accuracy sacrificed for power. 15 minutes remain. Ball lost and gratefully received. Lovely ball. This could lead to something. Different angle for him now. Over the touchline it goes. Throw in now.
Number 10, Cristiano Ronaldo. To be replaced by number 12.
Looking to put the cross in. What a chance this could be to potentially win the game from this corner.
Well, just listen to that roar. It's been quiet for a while, but this is a chance, and they're trying to push the team to take the lead.
Could be a chance to break here. Now, this has to be. Oh, unless it's tackled, clears it away.
Did well there, brilliant challenge. That's quality, that.
Modric. Only 5 minutes remaining. It's stick or twist time. If they want to win it, this could be the chance. This for the net. What a stop. And it's still all square.
Well, he shows great reactions to get to that. It's a top save so late on in the match.
Oh, it's in. Not part of the script at all. It has to go down as an own goal. And the game restarts with the score now 2-1.
Well, the hosts have had a lot of the ball in the last 15 minutes. Surely if they do get another, that will be game over as a contact.
Oh, chance here. Oh, good save. They haven't lost this yet.
Oh, the keeper does well. Just about keeps them in this. Not long to go, so they'll really have to push to get something from this.
Jadon Sancho. So that will do it. A disappointing result, whichever way you slice it. Your thoughts on that performance?
Welcome everyone on a perfect night for football with the floodlights beaming down. I'm Derek Ray, and joining me to provide expert analysis is Stuart Robson. And with the game just moments away now, this really ought to be a superb watch. How do you see this one going?
Well, this should be interesting today. I like the makeup of both teams. They really do have a good balance of attacking and defensive qualities. But the team that has the greater desire will probably come out on top.
And possibilities here. Just couldn't get it through. Well, fantastic reflex action from the goalkeeper. And this is how the hosts will begin the game today. Gregor Kobel stands between the posts. Mohamed Salah plays with Antoine Griezmann on the flanks. And the
Oh, what a chance this is, Derek.
Oh, commanding goalkeeping. Well, they fancy a short one. Applying vigorous pressure. Not all that hard to deal with crosses like that. Iniesta. Vedat Muriqi. Lionel Messi. And there it breaks down, but credit to the defence. Well, whatever way you slice it, Mo Salah is a man you just can't take your eyes off.
Well, he will try and get on the ball as much as possible. He loves to affect the game with his combination play, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that again today.
Shaw. It's with Gabriel. Oh, nice ball. And that's sound goalkeeping to hang on to the shot like that. Error by the keeper might give them a chance. Well, we can see what they're trying to do, but not a memorable passage of play.
Well, it's certainly not a fluid game, is it? Some of the passing has been really poor.
Delightful pass.
Well, that is a brilliant strike. Just look at the connection he makes. That's how to hit a ball. It's a magnificent goal.
Van de Ven. And a struggle to keep the ball for the Nutters. Bruno Fernandes. Stanway. Well, it's a textbook example of dynamic passing. Fernandes. Play on, said the referee. Oh, breezing past him. Released it nicely. Well, nothing for the players in the middle to work with. Valverde. Now, who can he play it to? And made sure the pass wasn't troublesome.
Yeah, that really did stop the move in its tracks.
Oh, disappointing end to that. No stopping him. But nothing comes of it. Well, that wasn't a great challenge. Hansko. This is Salah. Real chance. Oh, terrific save! And in by Luka Modric. Well, in a crowded area, the keeper's done really well to hold on to it. Well, the manager has one. Ball rolling again here. The Nutters are trailing after the first 45. Can they mount a response in the second now? Lionel Messi. And he saw the situation developing.
Well, he's just shown what a clever play is without the ball.
Messi. Here's Valverde. Oh, it's on! Oh, he wasn't necessarily favourite to win that challenge. Khadija Shaw. Now, maybe room here for the counter-attack. And there it breaks down. has options available. Oh, fancy footwork. Priority wants to hang on to the ball, which he did. Jadon Sancho. And a timely intervention. Well, he often grabs the headlines, and Mo Salah has been a big part of the story so far, Stuart.
Well, I thought he had a really effective first half. Not only did he get the goal that gave them the lead, but his general play was really good. He was a constant threat, and I'm sure we'll see more of him in the second half.
Oh, crashes it against the woodwork.
Well, I think from that distance, he should be scoring. At least test the goalkeeper.
Jadon Sancho. Read that pass all the way, cutting it out. Buhl. Very effective pass. Oh, it might be! And a good save there. And time for the change now. And a short corner, let's see. All the cross work out for them. It might have made life difficult for the keeper, but that's a strong punch. Over the touchline for a throw-in. Well, he certainly made his mark on the game, and now the manager is making a switch. We know they can pass the ball better than this.
That was a poor bit of play.
Good conditions for the counter. Now opening things up. The keeper making sure that there were no straps to feed on for the attackers. Strong but fair tackle. Will he play it in? Superbly read and executed. Now we're inside the final 10 minutes in this one. Lovely ball. Can they level it here? And the ruling is offside here. And passing it well. Showing good situational awareness. Bruno Fernandes. Oh, nicely played. Yamal. Frenchman spotted. And a good challenge to bring that attack to an end. Buhl. Fernandes. Well, doesn't have to do it on his own, but nothing comes of it. Good defending it was. And that will be all for this game. Defeat for the visitors, that's the big story.
Not quite good enough today. Yes, they only lost by 1 goal,
The sort of weather the fans were hoping for this evening. It's absolutely ideal. I'm Derek Ray, ready here in the commentary position, and alongside me is the former Arsenal, West Ham and Coventry midfielder Stuart Robson. And the general feeling is we should be in for a spellbinding occasion. How do you see this one going?
Well, as is always the case, both teams will look to control the centre of the pitch. Whichever can do that will dominate possession and probably the game. This is going to be key, I think, today.
The lineup then for the hosts. Gregor Kobru stands between the posts. Mohamed Salah plays with Antoine Griezmann on the flanks. And it's two strikers up front who will look to provide the goal-scoring threat. Modric! Oh, excellent goalkeeping! A corner from Modric. Well, at times fans live for moments like that.
Well, that's a really good example of how to perform a bicycle kick. Great stuff.
He has teammates around him. Opportunity it is. And a goal! They start as they need to continue. They make the opening statement. Mickey van de Ven. And on to Young. Messi. Another promising looking attack from the Nutters, but quick thinking defensively. Khadija Shaw trying to open them up. Oh, so close to opening up the defence. And Cristiano Ronaldo waiting. Crossing down well. Ronaldo. Over it comes. And he's done well to tip it over the bar. Passed away. Oh, this looks useful. And the degree of difficulty wasn't all that high in terms of the save. Tidy challenge.
Well, the hosts have dominated the flow of the game in the last 15 minutes, creating lots of chances now, and you think if they do get another, it's going to be tough for the opposition to find a way back into this.
And across the touchline, so a throw in here. Very alert defending to cut off the supply. Sancho. Well, he's certainly not alone. Salah. An effective challenge. Yuri and Timber. Federico Valverde. Timber. Van de Ven. On to Iniesta. And halted in his tracks. Oh, what an exquisite goal! Absolute perfection! So underway again here on the back of that leveller. Khadija Shaw. The ball with Luka Modric. Salah. Well, a touch too heavy there.
No chance of getting through on that occasion, was there?
Now the counter-attack looks on. And he's made headway. And there it is! 2 goals in a matter of minutes. Incredible stuff. Well, underway again. It's a narrow 2-1 lead as things stand. Fernandes. Stanway. Bruno Fernandes. Georgia Stanway. Bruno Fernandes has it. A really good pass. In towards Salah. And the keeper making sure that there were no scraps to feed on for the attackers. So back underway, the second half begins. Ronaldo. Now Mo Salah. Just lost the momentum.
Well, they were nice and compact there and defended that fairly easily.
Iniesta. Valverde. Messi. Good tackle taken away. And he has options available. Well, that was on the cusp of saying he's at it again. Looked as though he might score again.
Well, he's certainly looking sharp today. That could easily have been his second there.
Just over the crossbar with that effort. Jadon Sancho. Messi. I think most fans would be pretty happy with this man's display so far.
Well, I thought he had a really effective first half. Not only did he get the goal that gave him the lead, but his general play was really good. He was a constant threat, and I'm sure we'll see more of him in the second half.
Passing it accurately. A textbook interception. Bruno Fernandes. And the counter-attack looks on. Surely the equaliser. Chasing the game, but now a corner. Time for a change then. And clearing his lines. Oh, this looks useful. Oh, decent effort, but not troubling the keeper too much. Jadon Sancho. Good through ball. Sancho. Now with Messi. Genuine chance. Oh, that is a wonderful piece of challenging.
What a tackle that was.
Good conditions for the counter. Modric. Oh, useful ball. Just the challenge that was required. Well, it's gone out of play under real duress.
Well, the Nutters are certainly not controlling the lion's share of possession here, but when they have had it, they've looked so dangerous, particularly when they press high up the field, win the ball back in those areas, and then counter-attack quickly.
And having to soak up a bit of pressure again here. Bruno Fernandes. This could square the game. And that's exactly what has transpired. Now, that could be a massive turning point, and momentum is with them. Really fine piece of defending play to break it up. Oh, this is looking promising. Chance to play it in. Well, desperately close to going in that time. And they will make the change now. 5 minutes of the 90 still to go, and the teams cannot be separated. Now sloppy in possession from the Nutters.
The time is running out to get this winner, but the fans certainly believe it's coming. Just listen to the noise. What a fantastic finish we could have here.
Well, you just never know about chances near the end. You've got to be opportunistic. Will this corner do it? Oh, can you believe it? With so little time left, surely that will be the winner. Amazing scenes here. Yuri and Timber. And we will have just one additional minute. Can they square this match? And that is the end of the contest, and not a happy outcome as far as the visitors are concerned.
Well, I thought it was a
couldn't fly.
Hey folks, the problem that I'm facing is the FIR that I have launched via this portal. I am not able to find the view the registered complaint when I log into the site, the crime and criminal tracking network and system. So I have asked my local station's sub inspector, which I have been conversing with in this month of May, of the complaint number, that if he has received it, he will log into his workstation or the computer and will find out the complaint number where it has landed, because there is this so many different types of office types and the offices which your complaint can land on. So I remember I have selected Alambagh police station while doing so. Okay, let's wait for the reply from him.
These are just what you hope for as a spectator. A warm welcome. My name is Derek Ray, positioned here on the commentary gantry, and sitting next to me, ready to give you all the analysis, is Stuart Robson. And without doubt, a match with the potential to bring genuine excitement. What are you expecting?
This should be a good game. Great atmosphere inside the stadium. Some interesting matchups and two coaches that want to play an attractive brand of football. What more could you ask for?
And the lineup for the home side. Gregor Kobel stands between the posts. Mohamed Salah plays with Antoine Griezmann on the flanks. And the tactical configuration has two players in attack from the very outset. Can he play it in? Well, quite simply, that is catching practice. This is the lineup for the visitors today.
Well, it's a 3-5-2, but the key player is the holding midfield player. Not only does he protect the back three, he also is their link-up man when they play out from the back.
And firing it. Oh, a really confident stop in a challenging situation. It's a short one. Delivery from Salah here. Oh, really good header. Really fine goalkeeping. Well, pressure building. Another corner. Oh, it comes to nothing in the end. Really should have made more of that.
For me, that was a chance gone begging.
Strong bit of pressing. So deflection, and it will be a throw-in. Well, a poor attempt at a challenge, and on he goes. Able to clear the danger. Corner kick though here. And in by Luka Modric. And the header a long way off what she was looking for, but the marking was effective. Toba. Intelligent defending.
Message for Xavier Vicente, travelling here from Spain. Xavier,
He made good progress there.
and meet the rest of the party at the ticket office.
That's a good ball. Oh, he's put it just a fraction wide of the post. Iniesta. Showing good defensive judgment. Now opening things up. Georgia Stanley. Plenty of support here. But really sticking to their task defensively. A good position from which to counter. Well, unable to hold his run, and that's offside. Messi. And Messi's incisive pass. And somehow he's kept it out.
Yeah, he looked so imposing there, didn't he? Great save.
And the short option preferred. Their turn to try to keep it. Mickey van de Ven. Shaw. Bruno Fernandes has it. Ronaldo. Well, this is what you call passing with confidence.
Yeah, they're so hard to play against.
Well, this could really help the cause. And the lead beckons! And what a magical save it was! The corner from Modric. Well, didn't really make the keeper work terribly hard. Well, they win the throw following that challenge. David Hansko. A good effective pressure high up the pitch. Sancho. So 1 minute of stoppage time, that's what the officials have said. That is that for the first half here. So the referee's whistle and into the second act of the drama. Ashley Young. Urian Timber. Here's Valverde. Muriqi. Bad pass.
That wasn't a good pass, was it?
Salah. Now Griezmann. Takes it on. Oh, how did he keep that out? Luka Modric with the corner. Just up with the crossbar with that effort. Andres Iniesta. Muriqi. And Nutters moving the ball forwards. What can they do from here? He'll be delighted to have won the ball, having made that difficult challenge. And the counter-attack looks on. Can he deliver? Thwarted by the post. Danger averted for now.
He's just cleared the danger for now.
Now Griezmann might profit. Aim towards Ronaldo at the back post.
Well, that was a bit unlucky, because you just get the feeling they need to make the most of one of these chances.
Well, having been denied by the woodwork, now the focus is on keeping the opposition at bay. Well, he stopped them in their tracks. Fernandes. Now Mo Salah. Decent effort! Well, in actual fact, it ended up being a simple claim for the keeper. Messi. Jadon Sancho. Into the final 20 minutes. Now look at this, they might be able to cash in here. Modric! Brilliantly blocked. So a personnel change then.
Well, just listen to these fans. They're urging their team to score here and take the lead.
Well, they would have been disappointed had he spilled that one. Young. Sancho now. That's a high-quality pass. Muriqi. Well, she really deserves credit for that challenge. Now, who can he play it to? Can they forge ahead? And you've got to credit that magnificent piece of defending.
Well, how did he defend that? That's a great recovery.
Oh, good-looking run. And flag raised, offside.
Well, that was always going to be offside. He just needed to hold on to the ball that little bit longer.
Smart defending. And Ronaldo sends it in. And followed by the post. Well, time for calm on the ball. Lionel Messi. Promising pass. And flag raised. Offside it is. Here it is now, a substitution. Distributing it well. Oh, good vision. And a really important stop. It remains level.
Well, what can you say about that? As you said there, it's such an important save so late on in the game.
Might be a chance to break. Well, they have to pay attention. The move looks promising. A goal here surely would finish it. Ronaldo. Georgia Stanley. Now with Yamal. It's not a bad ball. And they're not out of the woods. Well, it did look promising for a bit. They cannot be separated here.
Substitution for the
So back in business here, the first period of extra time, and it might well come down to mental fortitude. Who wants this more? Skipping past his opponent. Chance here. Well, that's not exactly what was required. Will this corner bear fruit for them? Well, sloppy in possession from the Nutters. Could be troublesome. Vital intervention.
Well, not only was that brave, it was brilliant anticipation.
Safe pair of hands, did his job. Lamine Yamal. Bruno Fernandes has it. And nicely over the top. It's a corner. Delivering it. Stanway. Now with Vitinha. And he has options available. Oh, great vision. Oh, good technique in terms of how he struck it. Now they're going to alter things. Here's the substitution. And the electronic board showing 1 additional minute. And regaining control of the ball.
Yeah, just snuffed out the danger there. That's a good turnover.
And the first period of extra time comes to an end. So 15 more minutes, straining every sinew. Can they forge ahead? Well, he was dreaming of scoring, but ruled offside.
Well, it all happened very quickly, so I wouldn't criticise him too much. At least he was in there.
And the Nutters with the ball again. Well, a piece of quick thinking by the keeper.
Well, that's great goalkeeping. He read it so well, didn't he?
Silva. And cutting it out. And a goal here might settle the outcome. Kane. And the counter-attack looks on. And in with a real chance. And a goal! This is why we adore this game. Late drama. And now they're in front. Chasing this game, desperate for a leveller. Well, didn't go to plan in the end. Plenty of support here. And so the final whistle here. The visitors come out on top, Stuart.
What a good finish to the game that
take
Well, just the sort of weather the fans were hoping for this evening. It's absolutely ideal. I'm Derek Ray, and delighted to have Stuart Robson sharing commentary duties with me. And with the game just moments away now, this really ought to be a superb watch. It's the Nutters versus the absolute Mad Lads.
Well, this should be interesting today. I like the makeup of both teams. They really do have a good balance of attacking and defensive qualities. But the team that has the greater desire will probably come out on top.
And away we go, the first half of this game. And the lineup for the Nutters looks like this.
Well, in this shape, if their wide players stay high up the pitch and get enough of the ball, it's a very attacking lineup. But if they drop too deep, they will then leave the centre-forward isolated, and it could be difficult for them.
The lineup for the absolute Mad Lads.
Well, although it's down as a 4-5-1, it's more likely to be three players in behind the main centre-forward, and those three are key to this team's creativity.
Tidy phase of play.
Well, there's not much space out there at the moment.
Can he find the right pass? Merci Dumornay. Fine tackle there to prevent the chance. Well, whenever he lines up, we feel compelled to highlight Andres Iniesta.
Oh, he's through on goal here, Derek.
Oh, and top-notch goalkeeping on the back of a top-notch break. Corner coming up. And short it is. Well, he loves drifting in off the flank. Oh, a brilliantly timed tackle when it really mattered. And the flag was up in good time. It's offside.
Well, he should have realised that was going to be offside. That's a poor decision to play that pass.
Modric. Ronaldo. Fine pass. Spectacular save. Top-class goalkeeping. Jadon Sancho. And good width here from the Nutters.
This is for Noor Ali. Noor Ali from Queen's Meet Jennifer Brissett at the ticket office.
They gave it quite the blast, but nowhere close to the goal. Valverde. And now with Young. Vedat Muriqi. Oh, that's an interesting pass. Opportunity to go ahead. And the deflection there before it went over the byline. Going to be a corner. And that's to go short. Oh, they were in a decent position too.
Just read the situation so well, didn't they?
Merci Dumornay. Eberechi Eze on the ball. Able to skip past his man. Well, defending always has to be a team effort. Good piece of covering. Quick break could be on. Great ball over the top. Intercepting it intelligently. Frenchman spotted. Payor. He has teammates around him. It's a nice looking ball. Taken by the keeper without any fuss.
Well, as the stats confirm, the game hasn't got going so far, and the attacking play from both sides has been really poor. But some credit must go to the defenders because they've dominated here today.
And dealt with smartly. He read it quicker than anyone. Well, the stoppage time situation, 1 minute here. And with that, the first half draws to a close. So the game is restarted, and you almost get the feeling it's a case of who's going to blink first. Not a great challenge. Fine tackle. Trying to tee it up. Payor! Read it well and made the save. Taken short. Delivered into the box. Well, in fact, a good but straightforward claim by the keeper. Now plays with a positional sense that is second to none. Merci Dumornay. Andres Iniesta. Might be a chance to break. Well, a disappointing end to that break. And possibilities here. Must be. Well, body in the way. Well, defenders keep getting in the way. Plenty of support here. Andres Iniesta. An astute piece of defending. Effective press. Ezzy. And the Nutters have possession once more. Messi. Well, there might have been a case for a yellow card, but the referee didn't see it that way.
Well, Derek, it's a foul, yes. A penalty, absolutely. But for me, it's not a yellow card.
And there it is! Perfectly executed! So underway again here. 1-0 the score. Joao Cancelo. The ball with Luka Modric. An encouraging move from Mad Lads. And Cristiano Ronaldo waiting. Andres Iniesta. On to Messi. Atenia. Ronaldo at the ready. No-nonsense clearance. And punched away by the keeper. And flying forwards here. Messi looking for the through ball. But the flag goes up, offside.
Well, he just needs to play that a bit sooner. The pass was definitely on.
Well, the Nutters have it back. And a good-looking ball. And striking it on the volley. Just no luck.
Well, good technique, but just wide of the target.
And it's Messi going forward. do next? Well, they've got to hope that won't come back to haunt them. A golden opportunity squandered.
Well, that should have sealed the victory. It's a real waste, I have to say.
Pressure applied. Dubonnet. And he has options available. When time is against them, they have work to do. Takes the shot! Time is not on the side. This corner could help their prospects as they look for an equaliser. Half-hearted clearance. Keeper had it covered. Another corner. Can someone get on the end of this? And under pressure, not on the target. Jadon Sancho. Here's Valverde. Interesting pass. Very quick thinking there. Well, good run and good ball control. And there it is, the final whistle. The home fans are going to be happy with this result. The fans were hoping for this evening, it's absolutely ideal. I'm Derek Ray, and keeping me company here on the commentary gantry is Stuart Robson. And every reason to believe we're in for an entertaining match here. It's the Raiders against the Nutters.
We can talk about coaches and their methods, but it's now down to the players. Which ones are going to stand out, who will affect the game, and who will have the greater desire. It should be a cracking game, though.
Jadon Sancho. The first 11 for Raiders.
Well, if they're going to play as a 4-4-2, they must make sure they stay compact out of possession and then stretch the pitch when they do have the ball. How they play in transition is going to be key today.
And support available. Well, Raiders come away with it. This looks interesting. Will it go in? An amazing piece of goalkeeping.
Well, that's a remarkable save. He just reacted so sharply there.
Well, that was never likely to trouble the keeper. Well, not quite hitting the mark.
Yeah, nearly a very good pass.
Alisson. Showing good width here, the Raiders. Oh, it might be. And the keeper dealing with it. Over it comes. And just over the crossbar.
Well, good delivery and decent contact, but he just couldn't get over it, could he?
Andres Iniesta. Messi. Jadon Sancho. He loves drifting in off the flank. Crossing down well. Oh, got everything behind it! Well, opting for the short corner. Can they set up a chance? Well, that's how to keep the opposition at bay. Raiders could use width to good effect. And roaming free here. Cross lacking guile and accuracy. Disappointing for Nutters to give it away like that. Took a really smart piece of defending to stop them. Decent looking pass, and he's in. And there it is, penalty. But no further punishment.
Well, lucky to avoid a booking there.
This to open the scoring here. In it goes! A well-taken penalty. Well, the Raiders restart the match. Is there to be a response from them here? There needs to be. Lo Celso. Alisson. Moving the ball well here.
Yeah, lovely slick passing here.
Promising possession, this. Takes aim! And it goes! To square the game! What a contest this is turning out to be! Jadon Sancho. The defenders know you can't really allow space like that. But nothing comes of it. Quetta. Oyarzabal. Will have no intention of losing out. That's a good-looking ball. And dealt with smartly. He read it quicker than anyone. Urian Timber. Lionel Messi. Federico Valverde. Beautifully weighted ball. Messi. Oh, it might be. What a save. And danger dealt with for now. And played in. But keeper's ball. They'll be disappointed with that delivery. The first half here comes to an end. So into the second half, and it would take a brave person to predict the outcome of this one. Alisson. Well, the threat could be there. It's with Oyarzabal. And no worries for the goalkeeper. Van de Ven. Now with Messi. Plenty of support here. That's a good ball. A real opening now. And he's clear as lines. Oh, he's through here. And it's in! They're back in front. Stunning scenes here. Well, as they kick off again, 2-1 the current state of affairs. Camara. Smalling. What to like about that pass? Muriqi. Committed challenge. Lewandowski. Oyarzabal! Oh, tremendous reflex action there from the keeper.
Well, he didn't have long to react, did he? But that's a top-class save, I have to say.
Well, far from the ideal header, and the goalkeeper had it all the way. Hansko. Valverde. Onto Iniesta. Messi. Danger building. And he put it away. And he's outdone himself. Wonderful save there. Keen to take it short here. The goalkeeper has no interest in smiling.
Well, here it is again, and you have to say it's the perfect delivery into the danger area. And the finish is sublime. He sees the keeper's position and just chips it over him. It's a breathtaking goal.
Lo Celso. Here's Camara. Lo Celso.
A reminder, the food stands will be open after the game.
It's a fine piece of attacking play from Lewandowski. And he has teammate. Well, it's a long road back, but they've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that was definitely a big chance there.
Successfully cut out the pass. Could reduce the deficit. Oh, my word. There's excellent timing for you. What a challenge. Good through ball. Oh, surely. And there it is. 3 goals in front now. An immense performance. Mojica. Here's Camara. Giovanni Lo Celso. Lewandowski now. Well, disappointing for the Raiders to give it away like that. Muriqi. And an opening. And the keeper dealing with it. So on the cusp of the final whistle, and the visitors very much in command, Stuart.
Well, the result has never really been in doubt, has it? They've created so many chances with some brilliant attacking play. I think they've looked an outstanding team today.
Well, they've been getting the substitute ready, and now they will make the personnel change. Young. 5 minutes to go. And snuffed out the danger immediately. Mojica. Now Giroud. Oyarzabal. Well, they pulled one back, but perhaps a bit too late in this contest. They haven't been at the races this evening. So the current scoreline, 4-2. And there it is, the full-time whistle here, and it's a victory for...
I will pause for a moment here. Uh, there's a power cutout in my area, so we'll be logging in when the power comes back on. Until then, ciao.